Here, bullet. If a body is what you want, then here is bone and gristle and flesh. Here is the clavicle snapped wish, the aorta's opened valves, the leap thought makes at the synaptic gap. Here is the adrenaline rush you crave, that inexorable flight, that insane puncture into heat and blood. And I dare you to finish what you've started, because here, bullet, here is where I complete the word you bring hissing through the air. Here is where I moan the barrel's cold esophagus, triggering my tongue's explosives for the rifling I have inside of me. Each twist of the round spun deeper. Because here, bullet, here is where the world ends every time. I wrote that in February of 2004. I was there from 2003 to 2004, and I still don't quite know what that poem means for anybody out there, so if you're wondering as well, we can talk about it afterwards if you'd like. Sometimes I'll joke with people and say if at a university, for example, if they're studying psychology, maybe we could meet afterwards and we can look at the poem again. I think that's a good thing, though, in poetry, for the writer as well, to be able to go back to the work and learn about themselves. So I'm not just going to yell poems at you today. I'll read some poems and maybe we can talk a little bit as well, right? I used to be a sergeant in the Army, so I can tell a lot of stories, but I'll try to focus on just reading poems for the most part today. This poem is called Highway 1. It's the highway, it's part of the old caravan trail of old. And I wrote it. We crossed the border from Kuwait into Iraq on the 3rd of December, 2003. And I wrote this poem afterwards. There's a part in the poem that seems made up, but some things you just don't have to make up. Al-Jawahiri wrote, I see a horizon lit with blood, and many a starless night. A generation comes and another goes, and the fire keeps burning. Highway 1. It begins with a highway of death, with an untold number of ghosts wandering the road at night, searching for the way home to Najaf, Kirkuk, Mosul, and Kani al-Assad. It begins here with a shuffling of feet on the long road north. This is the spice road of old, the caravan trail of camel dust and heat, where Egyptian limes and sultani lemons swayed in crates strapped down by leather, where merchants traded privet flowers and musk, aloes, honeycombs, and silk brought from the Orient. Past marsh Arabs in the Euphrates wheel, past wild camels and waving children who marvel at the painted guns, the convoy pushes on, past the ruins of Babylon and Sumer, through the land of Gilgamesh, where the minarets sound the muezzin's prayer, resonant and deep. Cranes roost atop power lines in enormous bowl-shaped nests of sticks and twigs. And when a sergeant shoots one from the highway, it pauses, as if amazed that death has found it here at 7 a.m. on such a beautiful morning, before pitching over the side and falling in a slow unraveling of feathers and wings. And I don't know if you heard, I think I read that on the radio the other day. I did have a little jet lag and I was drinking coffee and trying to, but I'm not sure if I said, but he really did do that. He was testing the zero on his weapon and he wanted to show the rest of the platoon how good the zero was. And he just even, pow, and he shot this bird. And I didn't see many of those birds in that country. And I remember thinking, this is how we enter this country, you know? It's a rich country, right? Some people believe there that Eden, the Garden of Eden, is there somewhere in the south, and where the marsh Arabs live, but you just can't quite find it. And I wrote this poem I wrote all the poems that I'm reading in this first section here while I was in Iraq, and I wrote this book while I was in Iraq. But this poem, I was thinking about if the Garden of Eden has been lifted up, about the place that remained behind. And this poem is called Mirab, which means like the gateway to paradise. They say the Garden of Eden blossomed here long ago, and this is all that remains: wind scorpions and dust, crow-like jays cawing their raspy throats in memory of a song, a ghost of beauty lingering in the shadows fall. Let me lie here and dream of a better life. Let what beauty there is be lifted up and given to the greater world as I listen to the mouths of termites eating of the earth, their bodies drumming a rhythm in the soil, undaunted in their blindness. By the millions raising a sky-lined architecture the blood moon must recognize with light. Let me stay here with these birds and listen to their rough songs. If I say the desert is an afterimage, that birds serenade us, that the moon is the heart of God shining in heaven, that if there is a heaven, it is so deep within us we are overgrown, that the day brings only a stripping of leaves and by sundown we are exhausted, then let it be. Because if there is a definition in the absence of light, and if a ghost can wander amazed through the days of its life, then it is me, here in the Garden of Eden, where it is impossible to let go of what we love and what we've lost, here where the breath of God is our own.